Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Paranormal Connections radio show. I am your host, Christina George, and boy, oh boy, got another great show tonight. As you will notice, Chad is nowhere to be found, but this time I know where he's at. It is his birthday, and so we are giving him the night off tonight so that he can spend some time with his family and enjoy his birthday. I myself have been sick as hell for the past couple days, but I could not cancel this guest. It was crazy because I actually had these guests scheduled prior, and I had somebody who was helping me book all of the guests. And it's kind of why I do things myself, was because she completely screwed up everything. Everybody for like over a month and a half that I had scheduled was all messed up. And so I ended up having to cancel with her because I was double booked for that day with somebody else that had booked prior. So I had to reschedule, but I am so glad that today is here because I have been waiting to do a show like this for a long time. This, I know, interests Chad, but not as much as me. So this will be great for us to be all together. Hey, Jackie, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So yes, so tonight, okay, well, first of all, everybody knows that not only do I have Paranormal Connections radio show, and I've spoke about this years and years and years, that my whole premise of doing Paranormal Connections was that I had not only paranormal stuff that was going on, you know, having abilities. I also had Bigfoot sightings, did a lot of research into that. A huge fascination with the stars. And over the years, you guys know that I chose that because over time in interviewing and just doing the research, I found that even though these fields are very separate in their theories and philosophies, if you are an experiencer of multiple phenomena, you start to see that there's a little bit more of a connection than most people think. Hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. So I decided Paranormal Connections was going to be the show. I wanted to kind of link and show that. And at the time, I mean, mind you, I've had the show for over 12 years. When I first started, you didn't mix all of this. So if you were going to talk about the paranormal, you talked about the paranormal. If you were going to talk about UFOs and abductees and contactees, you had to do it on a different show. So I then had aliens, UFOs, and beyond for many years. Then we switched it to top secret news for about 5 years. And as you know, after I got sick, we decided not to bring back that. And now it's a different time. So I'm covering everything on this show. Hey, Andy, nice to see you. So tonight we've got Nathaniel. We're talking the paranormal and UFO information, and especially right now, because we know right around the corner next week, they're going to have the, you want to say, the disclosure hearings. And I'll tell you, I've been watching a lot about it, and I'm very interested to see what happens. I've been telling you guys for a while, there is a false flag coming when it comes to aliens. So do I believe that they're going to start admitting? They already have. I said this years ago that it was going to happen, but it's not the way you're thinking. So I'm interested tonight to get my guest's opinion on all of this, and including their own, you know, interaction and experiences as well. So for anybody who has not seen the preview for, or not the preview, but for the intro for the show, hold on, I got to go to the wrong page. For the event page, let me just tell you a little bit about our guests. So tonight, our guests are LaLa and Bob McGwier. So LaLa and Bob are the UFO Paranormal Power couple who were thrown together actually by the Phenomenon. LaLa is a psychic medium and an experiencer, and Bob is a scientist and engineer with internationally recognized credentials. LaLa's earliest paranormal recollection is of her finding her neighbor's grave in Baltimore cemetery with thousands of graves by hearing the deceased neighbor calling her. This was age 5 and she couldn't read. Her father, who interestingly was a Reiki practitioner, an experiencer, an energy worker, recognized her instantly. She now speaks to the deceased for those who need it, and she also speaks to the aliens for those who need it. She calls the energy beings to her home daily. We're actually going to see some of the photos and videos that she has obtained over time. And Bob has actually outfitted their home with some technology to enable LaLa's abilities to be documented and shown to the world. Now, Bob served in the U.S. intel community for 27 years as a scientist, and this is why I even love this even more, and was the chief scientist for Home Center at National Security and Technology at Virginia Tech for 11 years before he retired and did the UFO and paranormal. Couldn't ask for 2 better guests. So with that being said, let's add our guests.
Hello.
All right. Hey, Bob. Hey, LaLa. Thank you so much to you both for being here tonight. We were talking a little bit, before the show started, which is why we got a little late. But yes, I have been following your page a little bit, kind of attracted me. Didn't realize I was just seeing like all of the pictures that you were taking like outside of the house and different things. So I was seeing a lot of that. So I obviously realized and figured that you were some kind of an experiencer. But until like I got to see your, bio and everything and find out that you were a psychic medium as well, like it was amazing because it's like I rarely meet other women in this field that have these different experiences as well as being psychic. And I don't know about you because you're younger than I am, but it was hell for me getting into the field, because when I got into the field, psychics weren't even a thing. If you even talked about you had a psychic on your team, everybody blacklisted you. Mm-hmm. So, it's a little bit different now. But to be not only a psychic in the field, but also an experiencer, mm-hmm. It kind of changes the dynamics because, as I was saying in the intro, these fields have been very, very separate for a very long time. And any time that I would try to tell anybody in the paranormal field about, oh, we go and do sky watches and, oh, I've had these kind of experiences, they just look at me like, I'm crazy. And then when I talk, the people in the UFO field and talk about, oh, I'm a psychic medium and I ghost hunt, and I'm doing these investigations, they're looking at me crazy because neither one of them believe really in each other. And if you throw in cryptozoology, that's all on its own as well. So for you, how was it? How long have you been in the field? And then, how was it being accepted?
Okay. So I've been in the field officially a little over a year. Okay. I have been hiding most of my life. I would read people when they needed it, when spirit would push me to people. But it's been a little over a year and I've had a mixed bag of, so as a woman, it's harder because when you try to do business, most of the UFO, especially UFO, they don't really want to talk business, So that was, that's hard. That, it messes up a lot of business stuff because if you don't go along with certain things, they're like, okay, bye. So I've had to learn how to kind of overcome that. He's helped me a lot, but there's been so many nice people that have really helped me quite a bit.
Nice. Hey, Steve, he's tuning in from Oklahoma City. Welcome. So what got you into ufology? Because obviously, you have psychic abilities. So obviously that started very, very young. But was your connection with ufology and just, UFOs, being an experiencer, did it start out really young or when in life did it start for you?
When I was really, really little, I would always have dreams of me out in my backyard looking up at the sky, and a whole bunch of UFOs would go over me. And it wasn't until years later I saw them in a movie, and I go, I know what those are. I dream about them, you know. And I've seen craft up close. I've seen the orange orbs over the house. I have an implant in my leg, but I call it alien Xanax. So they numb me to where I didn't look into anything. I just kind of went, oh, okay, so that just happened. But it wasn't until a few years ago I lost my parents and boyfriend, and that's when I stopped hiding, and I decided that I wanted to help people when they're mourning. I wanted to help them so I could be like a telephone and talk to their loved ones. And I met Bob online accidentally. Something said you got to talk to him, which is how it usually happens, you know. And I read for him. And then we became friends, and I started talking about experiences I had with UFOs and aliens. And, you know, I kept a lot of it to myself because I was afraid people would, you know, make fun of me or think I'm crazy or, you know, already.
Right.
And he goes, this is normal. Tons of people go through this. And he's very experienced in that whole world. So that's when it just started to blossom. And as soon as we started, I mean, every night something happens. It's really fun.
It's absolutely every day.
Yep.
Now I know that for me, we do a lot of sky watches, right? UFO sky watches, and we've been doing them 10 plus years now. And it's interesting because as a psychic, when I'm there, I feel them. Around, right? And we'll get a lot of activity, you know. And look, we bring skeptics out. We have everything. At one point, we had a camera the night vision goggles that were connected to a big, you know, a 50-inch screen TV that was being run by a generator so that everybody could see what it looked like through these night vision goggles because they were military grade. And, you know, people like to look at everything they're not supposed to with them. So we would specifically put it up there and, you know, videotape and things like that. And the amount of activity that we get. Now, mind you, we have all the apps to check, like for airspace, you know, all the traffic and when the satellites are going by. So we can immediately kind of say, okay, this is nothing. You know, we can explain this, but it's all those that you can't explain. And Bob, I saw you kind of, you know, agreeing as I'm speaking, but do you see that like with LaLa too? Like if you're around, like, is it like it's attracted to her and like she senses drawn to her? Because I know when I'm not at the sky watches, like my team members will have them and I'm not there, a lot of times there won't be a whole lot of interaction. And so I'm just wondering if it's the same for you.
So we've been told by several people that her third eye and crown chakra glow like as bright as a nuclear weapon. I mean, she's just like broadcasting. So, but she also is, as you said, a psychic medium. So let me give you one example. We have a low light level camera that's made by Psionics, and it's their newest model called Opsin, which is better than the military grade because it's cheaper and about that big. So it's really slick. And I'm thinking about going out. Something's telling me I should go out and film. She walks out of the bedroom. She says, don't you think we should take your Psionics and go outside and take videos? I mean, it was like both of us had this inspiration once we went outside and we took half an hour of video, and the sky was covered up with dozens of craft, zigzagging, non-ballistic motion, zipping from one end of the sky to the other. I basically couldn't follow them. So finally I just parked it and let them go through the center of the field. It was wild. So that's available online for people to see.
That's awesome. And everybody can also go to the event page on Facebook. All of their links are on there to their channels, to everything. We're going to go through some of the photos and videos that they have sent, and they are amazing. But yeah, also go and check, them out for sure. I see you guys have a lot of comments in here, but if you have the questions, go ahead and put them in here, and I will definitely put them up, and we'll talk. David, I've seen all of your comments that you have an implant and all of that. Feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to have you on the show. This is the kind of stuff that I love to have on the show. I mean, this is the whole point of talking about these topics and not making it so foreign. And again, for me being a woman, and I know with LaLa too, this is a very male dominated, field, even the paranormal, I mean, I think that women are pulling up some traction when, it comes to the paranormal, and a little bit of weight, getting out there. But in the ufology field, there's still very small amount of us. And so, and again, if you're in both fields, people just kind of stand off, even if you have a great, story, great evidence,
Right.
It's just, that's the turn off for me. But I love that. That's why you are here. Steve was saying, just curious, are you familiar with the UFO sightings around Catalina Island out in California? It's become a hotbed for UFO sightings.
Yes, a bunch of my friends were involved in the UAPX stuff that was filming all the stuff for Discovery, or the movie A Terror in the Sky. And the director of that film is a friend of mine. So I know about the Catalina stuff. And like a lot of people in the UFO community, I think that there is a base down in the water someplace, and the craft are coming in and out of a base. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's, for many people who are in ufology, I think that has been kind of the consensus of what people have thought for a very long time, because that is a hotbed. I mean, I'm in California. I'm in Northern California, but I spent a lot of time in Southern California. And crazily enough, Mexico's a hot spot. San Diego's a hot spot. Catalina Island is a hot spot. Like, the whole area is very, very, very active. And I have had many people who have been in the military that have come forward anonymously. I've had fishermen that have been out on big fishing vessels that have, seen things. It's amazing, what's out there. Patrick says Topanga Canyon and Tuganda Canyon in LA also see a lot of UFOs. Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, again, if you look really, I mean, it's kind of, now we're starting to see the activity all over the world. We've always, Nevada's always been a hot spot. There's been, Arizona is a hot spot. The different places are just very known because a lot of people put a lot of information out from those areas. But if you really look, you're getting things uploaded more and more online from people all over the world. And the fact that now everybody's got a cell phone, it's not like back in the day that it's like every time you happen to see something, you never had like a camera nearby or anything. And it's like happened so fast. Like, something could be there, and then as soon as you're getting ready to go and film it, it's gone. It shoots off. And I don't think people even understand how quick things can disappear. So it's a little bit different now. I think the only downside is that there is, with all the CGI, some things look very compelling, I have to say, that's, I think it's hard. But again, in the paranormal, we see the same thing, and we're all fighting so hard to get legit evidence out there. And then you get people coming in with all this fake evidence, and, it really kind of overshadows.
Right.
We're friends with Grant Cameron. And so he started this group called Orbology. Grant Cameron is one of the most famous UFO researchers in the world. So anyway, he started this group called Orbology, and we were the founding member group. And he wanted to gather together evidence of orbs and craft. And he brought in people he knew from all over the world to join this. And it's his Facebook Messenger group. And at the end of 30 days, he had a repository with 1 million plus pieces of evidence in it after 30 days. And I mean, this evidence is unreal. It's really, so is the only thing that's lacking is people having some ability to coordinate and feel like they are a part of the collection. And Grant did this, and just this is a huge repository of clear-cut activity.
Interesting. Well, so I used to be really, really close friends with a lady in Sedona, Arizona. Her name was Cynthia Crawford. And
Yes.
she actually, yeah, you guys might know her, but she actually used to make sculptures of alien busts. And for people who were wanting to call their star family, etc. So I met her, I brought her on the show so long ago, I think like when I first started the show, and she immediately took to me. And back then, we weren't doing the video shows, we were just doing all audio. And so I had reached out to her via email, and she started talking to me, and she said, well, before I start, I need you to do me a favor. I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but can you do me a favor? And I said, sure, what? She says, I need you to take a picture of yourself, and I need you to send it to me. That's weird. Oh, okay. So I took a picture, and then she said, and specifically of a second one of just your eyes. I said, okay. So I sent it again. I'm like, it's kind of weird, but here first thing she says is she's like, okay, you know that you have an Anunnaki bloodline. And then she was talking about my eyes specifically. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of where I started my whole opening up, and that's where it really kind of unlocked a lot of things for me. The precog dreams, opening that up to know more about where those were coming for, all these different things. She wanted to make a bust for me, and I was so scared at that point because things were like flooding in. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, it's flooding in without me even needing anything. So like, I don't know that I want the bust, and like, right. They might come get me or something. Because I had no idea what that meant. The only people that I really experienced were like people who had been abducted and didn't have very good experiences. And when I understood that mine had military involvement, that even scared me even more. So, right. Yeah. And then, she ended up passing away, but I used to go out to Sedona and visit her, and she lived out in the middle of the desert. She had a house out right in the middle, and the energy out there and the sightings were amazing. And she was the same way. She could go out there and she'd make her little circles, and she would call to them, and they would come on demand.
Mm-hmm. Are you RH negative blood type?
I interestingly am not. My sister is, okay. Strangely enough, but I am not. And so again, now you can kind of understand why. For me, I keep thinking, oh, I'm getting all these pieces of a puzzle that I can put together. But what I realize is all the pieces are not always the same for every person. Right. And there's just like in the paranormal, the activity and the experiences can be so different and vary so much, even with its psychic abilities between psychics. I hate when people think that just because they hear you're psychic medium, they think you're a mind reader, they think the lottery numbers, all these different things. And it's like, no, we don't have all the same abilities. Everybody, some may be similar, some are different, but I don't think that there's just one of us that it's exactly the same. And I'm seeing that's the same thing in experiences.
That's very true. Yeah. I had one person recently, he wanted me to tell him the name of where he should work next and which of the people in charge and what their names were. He just wanted me to tell him what to do. Specifically, it was very different. But the thing is, I talked to him about it. We worked it out, but that's also something people have to be careful of, getting scammed by people that aren't legitimate, because I could have Googled anything, and just said, here, do this. So I told him, we worked everything out, but Yeah, some people have asked me for the lotto numbers before. I'm like, I don't do that. I would get the lotto numbers.
And that's what I'm saying. I tell you, if you think if I knew the lotto numbers, I would be telling you, I would be running to place my numbers. Like, are you serious? And I'm like, no, not a mind reader, nor do I really want to know what's in your mind. But yes, when I do readings too, I ask for at the very beginning, I say, please, give me very specific information that only your family will know. And even when I do readings, I do readings on locations, I never want to know anything beforehand.
Right.
I literally meditate and connect, and whatever comes through, comes through. Sometimes, and I've had people when I've done readings sometimes, and they're like, yeah, it's just all of it's not making sense. And okay, I'm sorry, because this is the information I'm getting. Maybe later it will make some sense. And then immediately the person thinks, oh yeah, this is a scam. They're not real because they didn't have the information. But sure as hell, every single time that's happened to me, it may be a couple weeks, it might be a few months, it might even be a year later. But those same people will contact me out of nowhere, say, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what just happened. Do you remember when you told me this blah, 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 blah was going to happen, or this person, and it didn't make any sense? I know who it is, or it just happened. So again, people don't understand that we don't know. The information is not made for us. It's not for us. We are just the messengers. That's it.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we've got another question. Steve White says, sorry, another question. With all the reported UFO crash sites within the United States, have you guys ever had the opportunity to visit any of them?
Yes, I've been to the Trinity test site and been to one of the crash sites near the Trinity test site in New Mexico.
Okay.
But I haven't been to any others.
Yeah. And it's first of all, it would be pretty hard to gain access to anything like that. And again, what we find is when there is any kind of alleged UFO crash site, it is first of all put under wraps very quickly. It is removed even quicker. And then they just kind of hush it all, and that's it. So unless you were actually like really going in, I know that there was a crash site from, I think it was like in the 50s or something, in Yuba City, California, Northern California, not too far from where I'm in Sacramento. And the person that we were with was trying to remember, because her parents were the ones that actually saw the craft, and it landed in a field. And we started trying to like figure out where it was, and I was very, very drawn to a very specific area. And when we got there, we actually met one of the neighbors, and the neighbor was like, oh yeah, it's actually, you're right where it's at. And we actually had some equipment to be able to read, if there was any trace of radioactivity there.
Geiger counter.
Yeah, and crazy as it is, even for as long as it was, there were still traces, and just completely in a circle. Nowhere else, the outside, nothing else. And you could still see where, even though that the grass, or not grass, but like dry grass had grown, you could still see and I mean, mind you, that's, been a very long time, ago. So, definitely interesting. Let's see. Patrick says, at Mount Shasta, a UFO followed me to my cabin. A weird light comes flooding in the room, and the next thing I know, I have hours of missing time. The following nights, I had vivid dreams of being aboard a ship. Yep. Sounds like you may have had, an experience. I'll tell you, Mount Shasta is another absolute hot spot for UFO, for paranormal, and for Bigfoot. That is where I would normally go camping every year. And, over years, I'd had multiple sightings of Bigfoot as well. There's something about Mount Shasta that definitely attracts things. Okay, well, I have a question from, this is Joanna from Twitter, and she's asking, have you ever been abducted, or are you just an experiencer? And if you're an experiencer, what type of experiences have you had, and with what races? Well, that's quite like three questions.
Okay, so the most recent one, we have video about front of some type of alien being. You see the face. It's looking at the camera, and there's some type of fog around it. The face, the torso. And then that morning when I woke up with a really dark triangle bruise on my arm. And I didn't hit it on anything. It wasn't sore. And so we took a picture of that, and I found out that a lot of people get the triangle bruises. I do have an implant in my left upper leg, and it's about the size of a piece of rice. It's metal. I set off metal detectors. I would go to fly to Florida a lot, and I'd always set it off. And after a while, I said, "Can I look at what you guys are looking at?" And it was very tiny, and it's been there over 20 years. I never fell. I never had surgery. There's no scars, so it's very strange. I've seen a ship. It must have been as big as a football field. It was over the road at night, and a helicopter came and it shined a big spotlight through the clouds, and this thing was hiding in the clouds. And I saw just the bottom part of it, and it was black metal, and it had these huge, I guess, like pipes intertwined, but the pipes were as thick as the body of the helicopter. Like, this thing was big. And I drove under it, and I don't remember driving home, anything. I've seen other stuff too, but that was probably the most detailed I've seen.
You should tell them about the barn and those beings.
I had one bad experience, but the rest were okay. The rest are fine.
All right. Steve is asking, I'm not part of the Men in Black organization, but I investigate a lot of paranormal occurrences. But my question is, have you ever been able to record a voice of an extraterrestrial? I seriously don't know if this has ever been done. Just curious. Well, I personally haven't, nor do I know anybody who has. What about you guys?
Okay, so when we decided to live together, after we found out we had a lot of common interests and got into a relationship, we began having poltergeist activity in the house. So we put up cameras inside the house and focused on the front door and the back door, etc. Well, so one of them went from night mode to day mode in the middle of the night while we were asleep, because something had gone through and turned on the light. And as it turned on the light, something shadowy or wavy walked in front of the camera and said, an electronic voice phenomenon saying the name, hello to the name of LaLa's son. And she recognized the voice as that of her deceased boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So when we instrumented the house with cameras, and we got orbs, then we put them outside, we got craft and orbs. And one of the orbs that loved to fly by a lot while we were still getting acclimatized and learning how to do stuff, zipped in front of the camera, triggered it. And as it got to the center, it went, hi. And that video is available in that stuff for people to see. You can clearly hear this thing saying hi. Please play it to the end, because at the end, you can hear me in the background screaming at the top of my lungs inside the house. Wow.
And you guys could audibly hear that as it happened?
Yes. Oh, yes. Wow. We were watching the camera live, and it went, wow, and went, hi. And I'm going, wow, because there's a delay from the camera to the phone you're playing it on. Right. And after the delay, I went, wow, and called her in to look at it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we've heard those kinds of things. And then before that, she heard on several videos this guttural, weird language that we couldn't make out. And let her tell about that.
well, sometimes it sound like radio frequencies, and then sometimes it'd be really deep voice in a language. I have no idea what it was, and I said, "Look, I really want to learn more about you, but I would like to understand too." And
Right.
so finally, they're just like, "Hi," like, all right, they're dense. Let's just simple, make it simple. But that's, I tell them they originally started out looking like stars. And then the more I would speak to them, the closer they would get until we've gotten a good kind of, well, it's close enough to know what it is, but there's no detail exactly, except for two that was really detailed. But they're smart. When I get nervous, they'll back off. And then when I'm okay, a couple days later, they'll come back. So I was surprised about that, honestly.
So after we got used to all of this, and we really could just kind of do it, and she could like go outside and sit and ask them to show up, and they would. She asked me to grab my digital single lens reflex digital camera, and she said, "I want to take a picture." So she held it up, wasn't pointing at the sky, it was just right in front. Clicked a picture, and in our evidence, you can see that evidence on those links, the picture of this blue smoke with a clear gray alien inside of it. And that was 6 foot in front of us. And they talked to her the next day. So that was our first experience as contactees.
But it's like you said before, you just feel it.
Right. You just kind of know that they're there. That's interesting, because I've never had, an experience when I'm awake, so again, mine has always been in this state. Once I go to sleep, I'm,
I've had that,
in the craft. And again, the precog dreams, like I was telling you guys before, I personally just thought that I didn't really understand. Nobody was there to teach me about my psychic abilities. So it was something that I just always had. I never really talked about it. And then when I got into the public eye of the paranormal, I started putting it out and doing lives and, telling people what was coming. And first people didn't believe it at all. And then I started putting things out more, and they started seeing things come to fruition. And pretty quickly, because like when they first started, I might have it, it would show me something, and that might happen a year down the road, 2 years. I never knew. But after Cynthia Crawford and I were friends, everything really started to change, and they started coming more frequently. And before it was always more weather related, but then I started seeing like the 9/11 attack. I was shown that like 3 days prior.
Oh, wow.
And then that happened pretty quickly. I was also seeing a lot of what ended it up, I believe, is false flag events. So it ended up at the beginning. I was just like, oh, these are just weather things, I'll just tell my friends. But then it evolved, and, I was being shown all different information. And so I was just relaying it. And because things were happening so quickly, then people started believing. And then I started being attacked because people thought that I was fear mongering, and I was trying to convince people that the world was going to end. And no matter how many times I try to tell people, with every precog dream I've seen, although I've seen some pretty horrific, things, I've never seen the end of the world. I mean, not to say that I'm going to know when it's going to happen, but I've never been shown anything like that. So when people say, oh, the end of the world's coming, I don't put, too much into it. But you're saying, so do you get precog dreams, or do you just have some? Okay, let's talk about that, because again, I love this because I don't know too many people that have these same things.
It's mainly warnings for my life. So they'll show like one time I had a dream of my car breaking down a specific road that I really didn't go to that much. And a month later, I'm with my friends, and it literally broke down the same spot in the road. Or like, I was warned before my mom, dad, and boyfriend passed. I was warned a little bit before that they were going to pass, which looking back now, I'm very appreciative because I got to say some things, even though they thought I was crazy for saying this, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, or I had UFO or alien dreams, and I didn't want to say anything. I knew they were more than dreams, but I didn't know how to tell people that,
Right.
I mean,
when she tried, she was often rejected, and even on one occasion, her boss threatened to fire her. So this is how we got together. She reached out to me and told me that she wanted to give me a reading with my mother passed. And 2 weeks later, my mother passed. So when she was on the way downhill, my mom would occasionally rally and talk to our dead relatives. So that's when I really became really interested in having LaLa do this reading. And during the reading, it was absolutely clear, completely clear, that she was talking to my mother because of the things she knew. She never met my mother. She couldn't even Google the stuff she was told. So this was all stuff. And then my grandmother came through, and she couldn't understand her because she has a really thick Southern accent. Mine's not thick. My grandmother's was thick. And she kept saying, I keep hearing this word and I don't know what it means. I says, well, what is it? She says, she was a little embarrassed and hesitant, but she says, the word is Tweety. So when I was 1, my grandmother called me Sweetie. I'm the oldest grandkid. I couldn't say Sweetie, so I called her Tweety. And that became her grandmother name for everybody in our family, all of her grandkids. So by the time you get to the end of that kind of stuff, and then she did many more readings, you realize that the precog she had about my mother, and then all of these readings, her abilities are real. And then after we got to talking, I realized that her dreams were actual memories that were clouded, that she was her quote dreams were abduction events, UFO events, these things like this. So I knew she was heavily involved with non-human intelligence.
The only time, well, he brought it before, that I knew my dream was real was I had this weird dream. I was in a barn. I know now it wasn't a barn, but it was me laying down on a wooden plank and lots of other women laying down, but they were out of it. And I looked from each side and none of us were moving. And we each had this scaly, big, monster-looking thing. Now I know what it is. It's a reptilian.
Yeah.
We each had one of them between us. And I looked at it, and I passed out in my dream, but I woke up to... it was just me home. There was nobody home, but I woke up to feeling someone actually having intercourse with me, but my legs were together. And I was still for a little bit, and it kept happening, and I freaked out, and I never told a soul until years later. And he told me also a lot of people have gone through that too and don't talk about it because they're scared.
I introduced her to a friend of ours in Sedona, Arizona, and other friends, and we went to UFO Con, where about a half the women there have had these kinds of experiences.
Right.
Nilabs, reptilian abductions with hybridization, mantids, etc. So UFO Con is a really good place to go if you really want really want to deal with people that have those kinds of experiences and get some comfort.
Absolutely. And again, though, I can completely understand, having, especially if you have psychic abilities from the time you're very young, you learn to just it's just part of your everyday life. You don't know any different. When something else changes, I used to be very drawn to the stars. Like every night at my grandparents' house, I'd want to lay out on the grass and look at the stars. And then my grandparents used to think it was so cute because they're like, oh my gosh, she's like looking at the stars and everything. But I would always see what I thought was this one star, and it would always show up, and then it would disappear. And then what I noticed is, as a child, we moved with my mom just about every year. In our town that we lived in, I literally went to almost all the elementary schools. After I got out of Catholic school, I went to both junior high schools and both high schools. So every time we moved, I would always see this star the night that I moved. After that, I wouldn't see it ever again until the next time I moved.
Oh,
But
wow.
it was like, wow, it's like watching me, it's following me. And I never felt anything negative. I always felt that it was something that was protecting me. And, you know, getting back to the precog dreams, the crazy thing to me was that it was almost automatic. I never understood why I knew, like I would just go to sleep and I'd wake up and I'd be in this circular room and I just knew to walk up and go onto this platform and wait for what I was going to be shown. And so when things, you start realizing, oh, there's a lot more to this. It's, even though I had done so much research and I had interviewed tons of people. I have people who are high up in MUFON. I have people from MUFON who are on my team, hypnotherapists, all these people who are, you know, kind of the expert go-to people that I would go to about this stuff. And everybody kept saying, oh yeah, you've had some experiences. And it was just hard for me to process because I thought, oh my gosh, it has been so hard to be accepted in the paranormal field. Can you imagine if I bring this up on my show next week? They will laugh me out of both fields. I will never be credible, you know, again. And I'm not gonna lie, as things started really coming forward and I realized the seriousness, and every time something, you realize something, and maybe the same thing for you, LaLa, but every time I experience something new, I get some answers, but it then unlocks 50 more questions about where does all go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is definitely something that is interesting. And again, with all the people that I have interviewed over the years, I don't really get two stories that are exactly alike. And a lot of times people, I feel like it's blocked. You know, from now doing the regression and all of that, I now know that this was happening from very young.
Right.
That's why I just kind of knew. It's also why I knew where to go when I left that room. I didn't consciously know why I knew, but again, as we started to unlock things, it started to make more sense. But then again, that brought up 100 more questions because it's like, okay, you know, why? You know, now the researcher in me is like, now I've got like a whole nother level of thing. Is that kind of what you've experienced as well?
Oh, big time. Yes, absolutely. You know, I've learned this year in seeing the different types. I only thought there were maybe 2 different types of aliens. I didn't realize there were so many.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize that there are more than just saucer UFOs, that they're very detailed and some are really pretty, you know. And I want to go, well, who designed it? I mean, and why? You know, or who are they? What do they sound like? I mean, it drives me nuts sometimes. And I'll stay up all night almost sometimes because I'm so interested. Because obviously they're showing up for a reason.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's like she's scared of missing something.
I mean, how is it for you, you know, Bob, like kind of going through this journey now, you know, with her, because things are coming and changing daily around you guys, and, you know, more information's coming in. So how is it to be on your side?
So, I had experiences before we were together because I had gone and visited and became close friends with Chris Bledsoe, and we had experiences at his home long before he wrote UFOs of God. So anyway, so I began to have these experiences, but I always said to myself, these are Chris's experiences, as I'm just carrying a little thing around. But orbs would show up in my home and floating craft in my front yard, and but it never felt like it was all mine. I thought it was just because I had gone to see Chris. But then the two of us got together and we began to have our own experiences. And I realized very early in our relationship that I had experiences And like her, like you, when I was young, I would lay out in the yard with my telescope that I had built when I was 10 years old. And I would have missing time events in my front yard. My mother would come out, "Why are you out here so long?" And I would tell her I'd only been out there for half an hour, and it had been hours.
Right.
So, but I don't have any memory of those things. Okay,
Right.
so I had a missing time event when I was 18 years old and had gone off to college, drove home, and had an hour and a half of missing time. And 2 weeks after that, I changed schools, I changed majors, I changed literally everything and became what I am today, which is mathematician, physicist, and engineer. So when we got together, I began seeing things that I knew should have some physical characteristics that I thought I could record and show people that these things were real. So we have all this equipment, this radios and ghost equipment and tri-field meters, and we have. So the tri-field meter is how I realized that she has an implant right up above her eyes. The reason I know that is because it's transmitting radio frequency transmissions out of her head. The human body does not transmit RF radiation, and so it was bursting RF radiation coming from her head. So this has all become kind of a great, big, huge, new, interesting set of science things for me. But in addition to that, we're seeing this paranormal stuff and alien stuff going on all around us. So I have now firmly feet in two worlds, and I'm enjoying it.
I love that. It's kind of strange because with you kind of being in more like, the engineering, the scientific, side of that, you get a lot of people that are very skeptical, and I love the fact that being an experiencer, and I think even being with LaLa and her experiences, it opens you both, and just like with the paranormal, I say, I love to bring people, skeptics, people who don't believe with me, because you can tell people about your experiences all the time, and you can listen and you can sympathize and empathize with it. But until you actually go through it, it changes everything for you, and it changes everything, about you for sure.
So we got the little skeleton camera and the little cat balls. So we put, and they'll go off, and I'll turn on the skeleton camera, or she will, and we'll find some entity standing in part of our room in skeletal form on that camera. So we have everything going on here, everything you can imagine.
Yeah, it sounds like. So we're going to go ahead and get to some of the photos and videos you guys sent over. But before that, I do see, like, when I was looking at them, I did see like you have a lot of capture of what many would call rods.
Yes.
And it became, very, very popular. I want to say maybe about 15 years ago, there was a lot of people that were sharing their research and evidence on these rods. And even back then, there were so many people out there, and they'd say, "Oh, it's a bug, and it was slowed down, or this or that." Do you get, when you're posting up on social media, are you getting a lot of people who say, "Oh, that's a bug. Oh, I know what that is. You don't know what you're talking about." Like, do you get a lot?
Yes.
Obviously, I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Nonstop. So
I've never seen a bug like that.
No, there's never bugs like it. But they also exhibit behaviors that bugs won't do. Like, she could sit there and say, "Go this way or go that way," and they'll do it.
Right. It's much different if it's, intelligent opposed. I mean, I used to talk all the time about people, because I would see them like walking or going through like dusty attics and stuff like that, and then snapping pictures or films or rather doing it, and then they're looking, look at all the spirits. And I used to call them out. Go ahead.
Let me give you one thing. I hate to interrupt, but I want to make sure I make one point.
Absolutely.
So we have these rods, and so they're supposed to be insect wings where the camera catches several flaps of the wing in one frame. So that's what they claim they are. Except that's a little hard when you see the one on the left and then one on the right and then one on the left, and they don't have symmetric wings, and they can sometimes two on the right and one on the left. Insects can't fly like that. So we have a bunch of those, and I guess I just ignore the naysayers.
Those were another ones where, I found, I didn't know they were around. I knew nothing about them, and when I would inspect the videos for anything else, I found it. Right as soon as I found it, they started coming
Big time.
They knew they knew I knew, and then it was like a party. So they started coming a little too much, and I got scared because I didn't know what it was. And they were another one that they backed off for 2 days until I finally said, okay, I'm ready again. And that night they came back. And that made me less scared because, one, they could feel me and they cared. I mean, it was just, it's amazing. I still don't know what they really are, but it's amazing,
I was friends with Jose Escamilla, and he had been on the show multiple times, and he was one of the researchers that I would have on that, was doing all the research and putting out information on the rods. And I'll tell you, when I've looked at so many pictures over the years, and I'm not any expert, but I'll tell you, it is a whole different phenomenon. They're not bugs. I don't care what you tell me, that they are not bugs. And I've even seen some of his videos where he would, again, they're very intelligent, interaction.
Yes.
And as I would watch these videos, I could feel the energy. Like he would talk about how he could feel it. And I literally could feel that same energy that was being put out. I mean, it's absolutely interesting. Patrick says, I believe rods are interdimensional beings. They go in and out of portals. I believe they actually create temporary portals.
Okay, so in our evidence, you will see LaLa captures these things all the time, going in front of the camera and going in and out of the wall.
And we have a portal out in our backyard, which we have video of, and it shoots open and a light flings around and then shoots out of it. It blew my mind. I know there's one in the bedroom, but I've never seen something quite like that before.
And the one I love is the camera in the front where the rods go through the wall.
So yeah, that person's right. I didn't even think about that. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and put some of this stuff up here, and then why don't you guys can explain each of these pictures if you want.
Explain?
Yes.
Can I get a glass of water?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, she's going to get a glass of water while I tell.
Okay.
So we got a lot of guff by only having security camera stuff. So we got our iPhones and went out into a field near the house and immediately got stuff. So we're sitting in my truck, and I say, there's things flying over the truck. And not only that, I can see them with my eye, and they're glowing. So she took a phone, pointed it up at the sky, and took pictures. And these are not flash, and they're illuminated. And so to us, there's some kind of cryptid. We don't have any idea what you would call these, but they flew over our truck right in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, and they look very much like, like I said, the rod footage that I've seen from other people, very, very similar. And you can see, quite a few of them. All right, let's see. Why don't you talk about this one?
This is one of the ones that are from a security camera. So this is a frame from a video. So we have all these videos, and we look at the frame so that it has a good frame in it, and we'll take that and pull it out as a picture. So this is a frame from the video, and this just flew right across in front of the camera, and it does these wing things that no insect can do.
Right, and you can see once again like these waves that are very similar to, here you can see these little like.
Well, these right here, I got to tell you, that had nothing to do with infrared because that was visible to the eye.
Yeah, that's amazing. That you can see the similarity. So it's very interesting. Okay, so now this is
That's just a different view.
It's
the same one. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, let's go back to the security cameras. So she will get a little video and get an intuition that she should look at the video. And inside the video, she will see a flash, like a star flash, like a flash bulb goes off. And then a flash bulb goes off a little later in the video. And she just kind of figured out that was a portal opening and a portal opening. So it was coming from one portal and going to the other portal. So she'll look at every frame in the video between the two flashes, and she regularly sees these craft. So this is one where it's several thousands of pixels, square pixels. And so it turns into an image with this detail in it when you look at the still frame. So we have a bunch of those where there's craft in the sky, and it's always a portal opens, you find a craft in a frame, and the portal closes and they're gone.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, let's see. Okay.
So this one is a really good one. So this was the first one where we had a flash. She found this in a frame and then a flash. And so I worried what it might be as a scientist. So I looked at the video repeatedly and saw that it actually went behind a cloud. So now I look at the cloud height for that time and date. And the cloud height is several kilometers high. So this thing is many kilometers away. And this is between 7.5 and 10,000 square pixels. This thing is huge. It's absolutely unbelievably huge to have that many square pixels and be that many kilometers away. The thing is a huge craft. And so the other thing to notice is one side is well illuminated and the other side is a little dimmer. And there are others where you can see it's clearly up in orbit and the sun is shining on it and part of it is in shadow. This one, you don't see that quite as well, but there are others.
Interesting. Okay.
And this is the same thing 2 weeks later, but it's rotated 90 degrees. That is the same craft.
So let's go back.
So turn that, and now imagine it spinning counterclockwise, and that's what you would see.
Yeah.
And that was 2.5 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, how can somebody explain that? That very interesting. Okay. What are we looking at here?
This is the asymmetric rod. You see things on the right and they're not matched on the left. That can't be a bug.
Yeah, guys, they are amazing. All right, let's go to another one. Let's see. Okay.
All right, so we went out to a park and she got a bunch of them and I got a bunch of them. And there were just these lighted orbs that were flying around. We just took pictures of them.
And it looks like you even have some more in the background.
Oh, yeah. There's more in the background. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it. And this is one I took. She took the other one and I took this one.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This is really difficult to see. Okay. So you see the black thing in the middle, that's our neighbor's roof. And so this light will start at the top and spread over the roof. And
all this area.
We are seeing the inside of the house.
And we've caught a craft. Usually there's no craft visible when they shine the light, but I've caught a craft, maybe two, definitely one. It'll hover, it'll go this way, and then it'll go this way, and then it'll disappear, and then a second later that light, and then all of a sudden something that looked like a body bag sucked out into the sky. I don't know what's going on, but
we don't want to tell them or anybody else because we don't want to get thrown out of our gated community.
Right? Yeah, nothing like, hey, you might be experiencing you're being abducted.
right.
If you look at the lit part, so there's stuff inside the room, and look in the kind of lower center, you can see a shadow being right there. That's a shadow being.
1 and 2.
And there's one to the left. Yes, there's 2 shadow beings. And in a better look at this, where I did some artificial intelligence enhancing to it, the one on the left is holding somebody by the shoulders.
Well, and they did it every night, sometimes a couple times a night, and then they stopped for about 4 months.
Yep.
and they just started again recently.
Yep.
And so that I missed it, so that was fun. But the way our houses are all set up, there's no way for a light to get through. There's
No. So all the trees between the houses block all light from the streets. They don't want light from other people's streets coming in. And they would have to be coming from somebody's driveway, and the driveways don't project between the buildings. So it's just, this is impossible, but it starts at the top and goes and spreads over, and then you can see inside the house.
That is so interesting. All right, let's see what else we got.
Oh yeah, this thing came down. It's a video. It just came straight down like a beam.
So is this right here?
Yeah, that's right our front door, and it just came down like this beam.
Wow, that's definitely interesting. All right, let's see what
this is just another one of those crafts she caught between two flashes.
And it seems like are you feeling these around too, LaLa, when you're checking all these out?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is a still frame from a video. So if you find the video 2023-01-14 at 18:12.
Oh, I want to tell it.
Okay, you tell.
I like this. Okay.
Yeah, she loves it.
Okay, so an orb flew down to our back porch. It became the shape of a human, but still a light, so no features. It moved our camera an inch or two over. It pointed it to the roof where that now lights up, because we didn't have it in the right direction, obviously. It went back into an orb and flew off. And
everything went dark. So it came down, the scene got really, really bright, and then dims, and that energy being is sitting there, and the camera is grabbed and rotated 20 or 30 degrees toward the house, and we've been looking at that roof ever since. And then it got turned back into an orb and took off.
I feel like they're family or friends, because it's kind of like, all right, she definitely needs help. Let's just do it for her, because she ain't going to get it. So, yeah.
Right. Right. All right, let's see. Let's go next. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know. You tell me. I have no idea. We have no idea what this is.
They're the creatures that show up. They've backed off a little bit lately, but they go through walls.
Yeah.
They're very smart.
They definitely go through the wall.
Yeah.
And so we put a camera in the garage because we thought they were going in through the wall in the garage, and they never show up in the garage.
One time.
Well, was it not directly from this, but so there's a portal in our wall, and they're going through a portal that's in our wall.
So that would make more sense.
It feels good to have this proof, because I never, sometimes I would see them, sometimes I would hear them, but it was always just a feeling. Okay, this is again a still frame from a video. This is LaLa walking out the front door, or me. I don't remember. It was me. Okay, walking out the front door, and that thing showed up right in front of me.
And could you visually see it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could tell something was there, but it took the infrared camera to really get a good view of it.
When I slowed it down, this blew my mind. I never believed in fairies or anything, but this thing, you can't tell from here. It was real quick, but when I slowed it down, it had legs, it had wings, and it was very aware of hiding from him.
Oh yeah, it was a fairy.
And it had like a little body.
It's a fairy. So we had them in the back, and I put out flowers, and they were gone the next morning.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and that's been something that people have been capturing a lot as well. Okay, here we go. And now, see, this is interesting too, because I have situations like this too, where I just wake up, no recollection of hitting, my legs or arms on anything. But yet, especially like on the inner thighs, like I'll just have just crazy, like looks like somebody's thumbprint, like literally just
on
my leg. So yeah, it's interesting. So tell us, you just woke up and you just had that?
So the night before, the alien with the face and torso that looked at the camera, that was the night before. And that morning I woke up to that. And I bruise easy on my legs, but I do not bruise much at all on my arms or upper body, right? And like I told him and other people, after I lost my family, I I got really bad anxiety. I became hyper aware of my health and my body. And I would have seen that in a split second, especially how dark it was. And it was, I
And
can't explain it.
That's a deep bruise. That's
And
not just.
it's triangular shaped. So
Right.
Yeah.
I Google things that look like it, and to me, it looks like one of these pneumatic hypodermic injection spots.
Okay.
And so
All right.
that's a close up of it. See the triangle, and you can see where something got shoved through the pores in her skin by a hypodermic pneumatic injection.
Yeah, they're very, very clear. And did you have any pain at that side or anything, LaLa?
No. Nope.
Okay.
And again, we're off over there in this field we go to, and all of a sudden, I see that the entire ground outside of her door is lit up from above. So I grab my camera, I poke it up the sky and go click, and there's two things, the big one and the one further off in the sky. And that thing lit up everything around us.
Yeah, it's definitely bright.
We just decided one day to stop at the graveyard and see what we could get, and bada bing. Same thing in the field. We just see these things flying every time we go over there.
Yeah, definitely a lot of them for sure.
Yep. And this is in the cold of winter. This is not a bunch of insects. This is really cold winter.
So you're not going to have, it's not like it's the summertime, you're going to have a lot of bugs flying around.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
This
Video.
Yeah. Right. Oh. Right there. I found it. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so it hit 194 thousandths of a milliwatt. So that is a lot of RF energy coming from inside of a human being where we don't have transmitters in us.
There. We found it.
So being a scientist, say just a random person put that trifield meter up to their head. They should not be getting any kind of readings.
10 or 15.
Like that. I mean, well, yeah. I mean,
that's
not
huge.
that high.
Right there.
But that's huge. That's just huge. Human bodies don't radiate like that unless somebody put a transmitter inside them. And you'll notice the button is on the red. That's RF. That's RF.
Right.
It's interesting because when I do readings,
right there.
I get really intense headaches, and I never knew why. And then that's when he mentioned that we should try that. So he thinks the one implant is receiving information, one is giving information.
Right there.
That makes sense. Yeah, that would make sense. All right.
Okay. Will this play? Yes. Okay. You can't hear it. Yeah, the volume is very low. So right after goes from night mode to day mode, right there. Hello, Xander, is what it says. You could just barely hear it. But that is a clear EVP of
Xander's my son that I had with my boyfriend. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And that's his voice because he used to like to play around and sound like a radio host for some reason. He thought that was funny. So
you can recognize you.
Yeah.
And again, you could see this thing kind of falling out of the sky. So I go click. And the camera was set on live. So it was like a 3-second exposure, and the Apple phone put it together, and this streak was through it. So the thing was falling out of the sky. But no flash. That's the point, is there's no flash. And I have no idea what this is.
It was this creature that
just whatever's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There. That's what happens. What you just saw in that house is what happened right there. And that cannot be lights from the road. It will not work. There's no geometry that would let that out. So it's coming from above.
Yeah, because it's like just this right in this area.
It's always just that one.
Interesting. So you guys have not been able to see anything in the sky?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Other ones we see little outline of a craft. They're trying to cloak, but this IR sensor on this camera can see the cloaked ship barely.
Yeah, it moved from sideways to up and down. The light shined, not in this video, and then it disappeared.
Wow.
It was shaped weird too. It was shaped almost like a helicopter, but without the propeller. Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
rotor.
It was weird or interesting.
I love this orb flying right into the house. The house is right behind the camera.
Front door.
Flying right in the front door.
Wow.
And we see orbs all in our house.
That's quite a setup there, Bob.
Yeah, that's a nice. My telescope is on our deck, and you can see the things. You can see the things flying around me.
Yeah, you can see over here, here,
and one by the telescope. Yeah,
yeah.
And she took that picture, and
we were driving.
Oh my Lord!
We saw that. I was like, I know what that is,
because she had seen UFOs in those before.
Right.
We never saw the UFO.
Themselves in them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Would get your attention.
Yeah. Well, watch right above the sun. See the flash?
A little blip.
A little blip. That's an anomaly. Blip.
Yeah.
And that happened when I went out too.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Now, this was interesting to me.
Yeah, so that took off from that roof and went up. And I think
that's that same roof that you guys keep talking about.
Same roof.
That's where the energy being moved our camera to so that we would see that roof more clearly.
Yeah, we had it pointed toward the right, and we moved it right toward that. And we sat there ever since because we don't want to miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it looks like a lot going on at that one house for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the light. So, let it go one more time. Watch the roof. See? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was another crash. It was something else. Sorry. I thought this was the one where, oh, yeah. And here's the orbs on our house.
So the portal is right above the headboard. They come out
right in
there all the time. Yeah. We have better. I like the blinking orbs. I think they're fun.
Yeah, we have all sorts of things flying through there.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, she's going back and forth with the video.
Right.
And so see that light flare? We have no idea why it's flaring. But almost always something weird happens after it.
You know, lately, this is new actually. We'll have our camera playing in the background, but we'll go outside at night and take big pictures, and there's a big flash, right? And then I'll go back in and I'll review the video of us doing that. And lately, there has been some kind of craft hiding. So the flash will illuminate it because it's metal. I'll flash a couple seconds later, and it's completely gone. I didn't see it fly. It just disappeared, and it's been doing that every night for like past 5 nights. So
yeah, we've had a lot of so there's the 2 flashes. You got the 2 flashes.
Yeah,
yep. And this craft, which is shaped like a Coptic cross and whatever this thing is right below it. Yeah, we have that enhanced in another photo. There, that's it enhanced. And look at that Coptic cross and the other thing.
Yeah, that's really.
That gave me a bunch of questions. The whole cross.
And this is 10,000 square pixels. That thing, because it's huge in terms, and it's almost fully resolved.
That is crazy. Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's back in February, so it's still very cold. But I don't know what it is.
Oh, the little flash. Was that a craft.
Yeah, it's a craft, but
Close up.
it's not really very good.
There's a tail.
Yeah, you can see structure. You can see structure, but for some reason the front is lit, and when it's lit like that, it kind of blurs. So that may be a drive. I don't know what it is, but you can see structure in it. And there, you do not see bugs make right angle turns.
Right.
Boom. Just doesn't happen.
And you guys pretty much, I mean, get this stuff like every night, right? Because
every night.
Lately, they've mainly been lighting up the roof, and that's been really all they've been doing out back.
House right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let that play for a second.
And the rods have shown up, so it's rods, and they light up the roof. But that's it. So they do something for a couple months, and then they stop and they start something new for a couple months. They have this rotation of things, I've noticed.
Yeah, I don't know what this one was about, because that's all the way back in March. That's thousands of videos ago.
Right, I know.
Oh, the orbs.
Yeah, this is back to the orbs. And I guarantee you, she's sitting there looking at the camera, playing on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks like those rods right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really hope she gets the one where it makes a right angle turn. There you go. That's a good one. That's the one where after we enhanced it, you could see through the roof and the beings are on it.
Well, lately, actually, I've been seeing something that looks like a flying snake in the sky. It's happened twice so far. I do not know what that is at all.
Now you can see that, like, brightens up right there, and then.
Yeah. So that's like, there is no mechanism for there to be a flash, because there's no lights allowed on the side of these houses.
Mm-hmm.
We're have an HOA that controls everything.
So it's not like a security light.
No, because that would violate the neighbors. You don't want to shine a light into your neighbor's home, and they will absolutely gig you and make you take it down. That should not be there.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense.
I don't know why this is here. This is
That's the craft.
Okay, so this is a good one. So you see the top is illuminated, and down the side is in shadow. That thing is so high above the earth that it is illuminated by the sun, and part of it's in shadow.
And it has a hole in it.
And it's the middle of the night, so the sun's below our horizon. That's how high up it is.
And it showed up
another night with a hole.
A different angle with a hole, yeah.
Wow.
That's a craft.
That's a craft, but I can't really make much out on it. But it's definitely one of those.
Did you show the ribcage one?
Yeah, she's already seen it. While you were out, she showed it. That was our first really huge hit. She says, "I think I got a craft." I went, "Really?" Then she showed it to me, and I rejoiced.
Right in here.
Yeah, that's a craft.
Oh yeah. And this is her trying to make it go back and forth so she can see it.
Right.
And you can see, there it is. There, you can make it out. It just decloaks for a second.
Right.
That's not a bug because it's not moving. It just decloaks for a second. Right above their roof. Right above their roof.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Normal activity.
And this was a crazy night out in the field. Just everything in the world was coming down. It was crazy.
That was weird.
That was so weird. And I have no idea where the illumination came from. No.
That almost looks like a beam, you know?
Yeah. No idea where the illumination is from. No idea.
So you couldn't see anything above or around that would be causing.
No, we could see the light, but we could not see what was illuminating it.
Interesting.
Just another fun day in the sky.
Oh, the rod.
Yeah.
Oh, is that over here? Somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh, right
Yeah,
now. Okay.
and they zip straight down to the ground. This is her. This thing is going so fast, and she just sits there and analyzes it. This is the craft from
Yeah.
that's the same one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the same. This is the same one, but it's slightly blown up more and rotated, and you can still see the hole.
Look at all of those
Oh yeah.
angles. Like,
Oh yeah.
they're like very.
But you can see the hole on the left,
Yeah.
left of the center on the left. You can see the hole.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
hole
right here.
that you
Yeah,
saw earlier.
The other way.
Yep.
You're right. Interesting.
Yep. And oh, this is so neat when they come down two at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like lightning bolts, but they're not lightning bolts.
Lightning.
But all this is on on both our Facebooks, so you don't have to be friends with us to see it. It's just an open to the public album. So, and every night we have something new. So,
can you see the blue-faced thing?
A fog.
Like a blue face in fog photo? That one is really cool.
That's his favorite one.
Hold on, let me see. Oh, I think it's going to be this one. Let me change over to different. This one?
Look at those two eyes, those nose, the bulbous head above the eyes. That was 6 feet in front of us.
Pointing towards the ground.
The thing above it is but that's not a star because she's pointing at the ground. The thing above the head to the right is an orb.
But that was something where I got a feeling and just took a picture. That's all.
That's amazing.
And next day they talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is so interesting. Hey Joe, nice to see you. Nice to see you. It's one of my childhood friends. Oh, special guest Steve. Hey Steve. Got people coming out the woodworks. It's funny because, like I said, I've known that Joe since I was like in middle school, I think. And so, he comes on and I think the last time he caught the show, it was like on the paranormal stuff and it scared the hell out of him. So I'm sure it would be even worse now. All right. Well, we are out of time. So I want to thank you both, LaLa and Bob. I'd love to actually have you guys on again because
Sure.
I think there's so much that we haven't covered that I would like to. So I would love to have both of you back. So I will get on that and get you set up.
I think LaLa will agree with me. This is the best our evidence has been exhibited.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrific. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This is awesome.
Well, I appreciate the help. I just love to share the stories, the experiences, because again, it's just like I feel for me, I love just covering specific topics. But when I have people with actual experiences, like it's everything, it's so much because that's so personal. So again, I appreciate you coming on and being brave enough to share this, with people. So I appreciate it. All right, everybody, make sure to tune in next week. Make sure to share this. Go to the event page, check out all of their links. You can go to their pages, check out all of the evidence and stuff that they have. Again, it is a ton. Just about every single day, you will find something new on LaLa's page. So definitely go and check them out. All right. All right, everybody. I love you. And I will be back with Chad next week. And Chad, I know you'll watch this later. Happy birthday, my friend. I will see you next weekend. All right, everybody. Love you. Good night.